for tuning in again. Tonight we have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to educate real stories. Welcome to Truth and Justice with Vivian King. I have another exciting show planned for you tonight. We're going to talk to Danny Sneed. Danny is called the Encourager at the Path to Freedom program at St. John's downtown. He is currently on parole. He has a job, and he's going to tell us his interesting story by the way he got involved in a life of crime and how he got himself out of it. I think his story would be very encouraging to my viewers because a lot of people, once they're snarled in the criminal justice system, they can never get themselves out. I also have in the studio Anthony Childress. Anthony actually he's a community activist, and he also has a current case that he's fighting in the criminal courts. He's happy tonight because the feds are examining 6 HPD cases. It's in the Houston Chronicle today, where there have been cases of police brutality. And Anthony's case is one of the ones the feds will be looking into, where obviously there's 2 sides to the story, but Anthony's side is that he was brutalized by police officers, they knocked out his front teeth. The cops have a different story. His case has not been tried in court yet. The police officers say that he, I think, ran into a tree or something and knocked his own teeth out just by driving his bike in a wild and silly way. So I do want to say both sides of the story. But tonight, Anthony is going to just be a community activist and facilitator to add to the conversation. You know that I want to tell your story. My purpose is to encourage, to enlighten, and to inform about the criminal justice system through people's stories. So you know you're always welcome to call me because I do want to tell your story. Now we'll turn to Danny Sneed, who's going to talk to us about from high school until today and tell us about his story. Do realize that I'm never telling these stories to glorify crime. I'm telling it to understand crime, understand how people get involved in crime, and how we can get out of crime, because I want us to have a safe and enjoyable community for everybody, and I want to stop people from going to prison in the right way by being productive in society. So Danny, thank you for agreeing at the very last minute to be my guest tonight. I know you're not prepared, and I appreciate your community service and your willingness to give to your community. So Danny, let's talk about it. So you're from Texarkana, but you live here.
Correct.
So talk to us about your days, your senior year and graduating. And you had a marvelous senior year where you graduated with honors, you were in athletics, you were Mr. Who's Who, you did everything at your school. Talk to us about your senior year in high school and transition on to the military.
Well, thank you, Ms. King. First, I want to thank you for having me on your show and giving me an opportunity to do something I never dreamed of, and that's sharing some of the, not the highlights of my life, but the low parts of my life in a way as a message to give hope to others. Understand that it's never easy telling anyone about the worst things that happen to your life. But for me, the worst thing in my life has become the best thing in my life because it gives me opportunities like I'm having today. So thank you. I'm talking about Texas Senior High School in Texarkana, Texas. It's an awesome place to grow up in Texarkana. And if somebody asked me what is the highlight of my life, I would say high school. And the reason high school was such a grand time for my life is how my classmates treated me. Home was kind of like structured, real disciplined, but it was a joy to go to school because when I walked on that campus and I walked into the cafeteria, everybody was saying, Danny, Danny. And most of my life, after I left high school, I always sought that attention and the love I received during those years I went to school. And it's funny that now I can kind of map it out. That's what I was always seeking, that approval, that attention, that love that my classmates at Texas Senior High in Texarkana gave me. And the joy is I still have a lot of connections to those same people, and they came back in my life. Now that I'm back in society, now I'm back, not a liability, but an asset. I'm on home on parole doing well, and I'm connected through Facebook to a lot of those people I grew up with.
Very good. So you graduated from high school in 1982.
1982, just had a 30-year reunion.
Wonderful.
And guess who got a chance to be on the 3-panel committee?
You.
I was on the committee that planned our 30-year class reunion
Wonderful.
that we just had July the 28th. And we planned it at a country club. It took a year to plan. 3 people planned it, lived in 3 different cities. And I also was able to host my 30-year class reunion. What an honor that was after spending 15 years in prison, given this opportunity.
Wow, 15 years is a long time. Let's get to that part of it. So you graduated from high school in 1982.
1982.
You were 17 years old.
17 years old.
You graduated with honors. You were in athletics. You were in the choir. And your goal was to become a lawyer. Tell us about how you got on the path to become a lawyer.
Well, at the age of like 14 and 15, everybody either you want to be a fireman, you want to be an athlete. I don't know what it was, but I wanted to wear a suit. I wanted to have a briefcase, and I wanted to work in an office. And I visualized, it wasn't any TV shows on featuring black men being lawyers, but it didn't have to be. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be in a courtroom. I wanted to be out front. You know, I always debated a lot. And one of my classmates said, Dan, if you want to be a lawyer, you got to have a GPA. And what's a GPA? She said, from the 9th to the 12th grade, they track your grades. Mm-hmm. And if you want to go, and the place I wanted to go to school was here in Houston, mm-hmm. because they had a law school, University of Houston. And she said to get in, you have to have like a 3.4 or 3.5. And the way you acting up in class, you're not going to be able to do it. Right then, I started concentrating on academics, and I graduated with a grade point average that would have got me if I would have followed through into the University of Houston. But what I did instead was, because I come from a single home, and nobody was trying to get me in school. When I graduated and I got all these honors, there was nobody in my family that had been to college or understand the process to come say, Daniel, let's fill out Pell Grants. Let's do this. So when the Army came onto the campus and they showed us a presentation, how you can go, they'll give you education money and all these benefits. Not only did I go in, I convinced 3 other people to go in with me. And when I took the test, I graded high, and they said that you can do anything you want. So it's only one thing I want to do. I want to be a lawyer. I want to work around lawyers. And I went in as a paralegal. And
how long were you in the Army?
4 years.
Okay.
4 years active and 2 years inactive, so a total of 6 years.
All right. So tell me how you got involved in the life of crime. I know 82 is when you graduated and went into the Army, and those were the days of cocaine. So
right.
tell us what happened. What led you down the wrong path? I know you told me off camera that you started using cocaine recreationally.
Right.
Manageably.
Well, I want to make this very clear and be very honest. I don't want to blame cocaine on crime. Really, if I really get honest, and I had to, I probably, before drugs came along, I probably had some behaviors that allowed me to think that it was okay to do crime anyway.
Okay.
Growing up.
Okay.
And that come from petty things like shoplifting. You know, just, I may go to your house, my mom may have it there. If I see something I like, and if it's small enough and it fit in my pocket, I think that behavior was there long before drugs came along in my life.
Okay.
But when the drugs came along and the ways and means to support your drug habit. You start off with your income, and as your
So let's talk about when you're in the Army, though. So when you're in the Army, you said you started off like a lot of people do with marijuana and powder cocaine, and in like '82, it's like freebase, and we didn't have crack yet.
well, the military banned any use of drugs,
Okay.
especially marijuana. And I used to be a recreational marijuana user, but I didn't want. I had a good job. I didn't want to get kicked out the service, so I gave up drugs. And back in '82, Huey Lewis had a song out said, "I need a new drug." And when I couldn't smoke anymore, and I didn't really have a taste for alcohol, I mean, I didn't have a drug. And I was at this little party, and we was playing spades, and there was a guy at the stove. And everybody was playing spades. They were smoking, drinking. I'm drinking a little bit, but not the weed, because they drug tested the Army. So this guy's at the store. I said, like, what is he doing? He said, man, come here. And he had a little bowl, and I'm going to kind of shorten it. He was cooking cocaine. This is 1982. So me, always curious, and I'm sitting there watching him. And the transformation from powder cocaine into a rock form, if you've never seen it, it's interesting. Not the form, because you watching it, it's like, so he puts it on a plate. He said, I'm going to show you something. I was like, oh, man, I can't do drugs. I'm in the Army. I'm going to get kicked out. They drug test us. He said, marijuana stays in your system up to 45 days. Cocaine only 48 hours. Now, one of the things about being intelligent and smart, it can hurt you. And that's what's been my biggest problem. My greatest asset has really harmed me because I think things like, oh, it's a 3-day weekend. We're going to be out Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. It was, well, I don't have to be back to work till Monday. It's early Friday. If he says it only stays in your system 48 hours, if they test us on Monday, I'm going to be good. So with that thinking, he set me in a chair, and I'm already in the military, grew up following orders. I'm very disciplined. So he's going to tell me exactly what I need to do. So he said, Danny, sit back. And he had the pipe and all that. He said, you're going to smoke it. Well, I was smoking Newports. I had I used to smoke weed a little bit. So I said, okay. So he sits me back. He said, okay, now I'm going to put this in your mouth, and you pull and you inhale. I said, okay. He said, now hold it. Now blow. He said, lean your head back and let it out real slow. And when I did that, if anybody has ever used cocaine, or if you haven't, the only thing it is euphoric. And what it reminded me of, and I can say this, it reminded me of the first time I had sex.
Yeah.
Same feeling. And you know what? Just like that first experience, I said, I want to do this again.
Right.
I knew then when I took that, I want to experience this again. Not immediately, but I knew from what I felt, I want to experience this again. And it would be a long time, but I did get a chance to experience it. And it was like I say, recreational. It wasn't something I did daily. Me and that same guy and another guy would get together. They say, hey, y'all want to play some cards? Y'all want to play some dominoes? Sure. So it was like a part of, you got chips, you got dips, they got the alcohol, some people got marijuana, and here it is, the cocaine. He knew everything. We didn't. He's rocking it up for us, and we're playing, and nobody's just totally focused on this. It was just a part of the party accessories. And I would not get involved. Once I got transferred from that duty station in California, that stayed in California. And I would go on to other duty stations, and I would go overseas. And when I returned back to the States in 1986, and I was around that circle of people that drink alcohol, smoke weed, the lifestyle, I call it. And we were sitting around, I said, man, dude, anybody ever smoke cocaine? And everybody was like, oh, yeah, but you have to go over here and over there and do all this, because it wasn't readily available uh, in the place I was. It just wasn't, especially in my hometown, small, and you had to really, really seek it out. And I got with another guy, and we eventually did, but it wasn't the same. It, crack, the freebasing had transformed into crack cocaine. And what's the difference? Cocaine is real expensive, and it's in a pure form. And but crack cocaine is a cheap form of cocaine. And when they made it cheaper, uh, what it does to you is it's not the same. I don't know how to explain it to you, but it's the the reaction to the need to more causes people, as which your listening audience and you have seen it. I really don't have to go into details of what anybody that's experienced crack cocaine, what it can do and the devastation it can bring into your life. And as you can see, as me even trying to explain it, even though I've been clean and sober for quite some time, it's like opening the door to that lifestyle, and it almost it's kind of like almost unnerving, because even though it was me, it was like an out of body experience. And but today, the strength I get is not forgetting it, but remembering it. And that's what keeps it at bay. Not hiding it in the closet or saying like, that never happened. Oh yeah, that happened. And that person it happened to, it was me. And again, I'm not addicted to my story, but it's always challenging to tell anybody about the worst thing that happened to you in your life, but it's the best thing in your life today.
Right, I understand, and it's a powerful story. Let's talk about the fact, let's add in the variable that you got married in 82 when you went in the Army. So when you were in the Army, you had a wife that was traveling with you.
Right. Had two
So,
kids.
2 kids. So what was going on with your recreational budgeting of your cocaine with your family life? I
Well,
guess it didn't really interfere at that point
well,
because it was
you
just a
do.
party.
I mean, you do it like everything else. I mean, what you do is you don't, maybe you don't have cable, and you back then we had VCRs. So maybe I just pre-record stuff and just watch it. You know, growing up frugal helped me, and it still helps me in life, because you find ways to do things
Right,
that you really love to do, and you don't
right.
have to be an addict to have vices that you will spend money on. If it ain't number shoes or some people, I see people standing in Fiesta and buy lotto tickets out of a vending machine, and I'm saying to myself, the economy can't be bad. It's a line of people. How do you stand in line to feed a machine for lot? I'm getting off course,
You know,
but
of course. Let's go. Let's go to the life of crime. So now you get back from Korea, or you get back from Korea. You're back in your hometown of Texarkana, I guess.
right.
And then,
I
or you're
moved
in
to Dallas.
Dallas. No, you're in Dallas.
Well, when I get out, I go home. I get my kids. I actually come to Houston and try to find employment when I get out of the military. When I get out in '86, the economy is just terrible in Houston. I mean, there's no jobs. So I got an honorable discharge, have no record, hadn't got in trouble yet, and I found a job at Department of Public Safety in Dallas.
Okay.
So I moved to Dallas. I, I applied for the job. I didn't get it until I went there, and it was a grueling process. But I did get hired on at Texas Department of Public Safety. And at the time that I got hired, they had only had hired one black male clerk in that position in the history of the Department of Public Safety. So not only did I get a job, I kind of like got a job in a place where their door had been closed. And so I moved my family there. It's us there. And Dallas, unlike Texarkana and Houston, the crack was starting to build, the crack epidemic and the assets. And remember, I got a good job. I'm working around state troopers. I'm working in where the background check to get in was very grueling. And so it was something I didn't want to risk. And the readily available, the cheapness of it, when it went down to $5 and $10 and $20, because remember I got a family,
Right.
so I really couldn't afford that lifestyle of using cocaine. I really couldn't afford to be involved in drugs and work at the Department of Public Safety. It just was a conflict. But whatever excuse or way I rationalize it, remember how I described how that first
Euphoric feeling.
experience,
That first euphoric feeling.
and just like I repeated the other process
It felt like
again,
sex.
I wanted,
Felt like an orgasm. You want to do it again.
okay, since you put it like that,
I'm gonna
okay,
say it. Yeah.
all right, yeah. So I wanted to have that experience again,
Right.
and whatever excuse I made to do it, and found out where it was at. The only thing about it is crack cocaine is highly addictive.
So
Cocaine
now you
freebase
had
is
been
not.
several years without doing cocaine.
Right.
Now you're in Dallas. You have a family. You have a good
Everything's
job.
going
What's
good.
going on in your brain that makes you want to go to the decadent part of life?
Well, because for me, in the what I realized, and it's just my own personal inventory is, for me, success is failure. And
So
I'll
you want to do something to mess it up?
well, my
You think
mom,
psychologically?
you know what my mom told me one time? She said, Danny, you're a climber. When you're on top, you're not happy unless you're climbing. So you're the type of person that will sabotage success just to be successful. So, I mean, I didn't understand it when she told me that when I was younger, but as I lived and I started seeing a pattern, I never failed at failure. I only made big mistakes when things were going very well in life. So for me, even today, success is challenging for me.
Because you have to try to stop yourself from sabotaging that success.
I do so well in failure. If I fall,
You can climb your way back out
man,
of it.
and people will be just cheer, oh wow. And what I realized when I was in prison, and that how do I change it around?
Okay, well, let's get to prison. So let's go back to 89. You're in Dallas. How do you get in trouble for the first time?
My first case, I got probation for burglary habitation, and I really didn't break into place, but I guess I did.
Tell us what happened.
Okay, here it goes.
True confession, true confession.
Truth, the truth. Here it goes. I lived in an apartment, and I was getting a lot of certified mail. And one day I was coming home, and my neighbor door right across from me was like barely open, and it looked like it kind of been forced open. And I knew my neighbor, so I knocked on the door, and when I knocked on the door, it kind of like opened, and I'm thinking like maybe it's something bad. I said, hey, anybody in here? And when I opened the door, you could tell the place had been ransacked. Now, remember, I'm in my addiction, so I'm not thinking straight. Any normal person would have said, hey, my neighbor's apartment has been broken in. I need to call 911.
Right.
But not me, but this other guy,
My addictive mind.
yeah, said, hey, so I went, searched every room, went nobody here. It's obvious the TV was gone. You could tell they had broke wires out. So I don't know how, I'm like, wow, they took they didn't take everything.
What did they not take?
What? They forgot the clock radio. No, it was some valuable things there. And I'm not proud of this, and I don't even know why I'm just like, I don't
Because this
even
is true
smile.
confession, true confession.
Yeah, okay. But I'll tell people this, and I'm going to use hyperbole when I say this.
Okay.
I actually moved everything out of that apartment into my apartment.
Wow.
Not only did I just get little things, I kind of like, they furniture was better than my furniture. So I kind of like,
Took their furniture.
yeah, because they had like nice furniture.
So what'd you do with your furniture? You switched it?
Well, I had like 2 sets of furniture. Well, I mean,
Your
hey,
addictive mind was
come
playing
on now,
tricks with
you got to remember now, this is like, this is the cycle.
And you're working for DPS.
No, not at this time.
Oh, you fired now.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
by this time. Because remember, it's just a few years later.
Okay, it's a few years later.
And I know, and because some of the things I share, I have to kind of like remember.
Right.
I didn't always get caught for everything I did.
I see.
So I can't, I don't know if there's a statute of limitations on
It
some of the
is.
stuff.
Yeah.
So last statute of limitations on everything except murder,
Believe me, any felony in
Yeah.
Texas, there
everything.
is no
Right.
statute of limitation
everything but
on
murder
felonies.
and raping children.
Right. So sometimes when we get caught and we didn't do it, we didn't. But
You did something else.
Right.
So let's go back to the neighbors. Tell us, it's an interesting story about how you got caught with the mailman turned you in.
Okay.
So tell that part.
So I'm in the apartment and I'm getting everything set because I ain't got to go far. I just got to open the door, just drag it to the next door and hurry up and go back over there.
Right.
But I hear a knock on the door and I'm thinking it's at the door I'm in, so I'm kind of panicked. So I go to the peephole. It's the mailman at my door wanting me to sign for some certified mail. I'm not thinking. I should like let him leave, but I want my mail.
Because you're next door in your neighbor's house stealing. But you're
Right.
looking through the peephole from your neighbor's house, looking at
Right.
the mailman at your house, but you want your certified, so your dumb behind leaves out of your house and does what? I mean, out of your neighbor's
Oh, here
house.
I am.
In your neighbor's house.
Right. So I was over there visiting. He don't
Yeah.
know.
He don't know.
He don't know what.
Yeah.
So I go. I sign for my mail because he's kind of like the mailman that works the area. I don't know his first name. He don't know mine, but he does. So I sign for the mail, and thank you. And he leaves. I should have went in my apartment. Maybe that would have helped. But I went back into the apartment, and again I relocate my neighbor into my apartment.
Mm-hmm.
I help him move without his permission.
Without his permission.
So the mailman, I didn't find this out till a long time later, how they found why they came to my apartment. They were out of town, and he couldn't put mail in their mailbox because it had got so full.
Mm-hmm.
So
So he realized that, hey, he might
not
be.
there.
He's not there, and the neighbors in their house.
what is he doing in their house? I know him.
Right, and they're not there because I
They're not
can't put
there.
mail in their mailbox. Their mailbox is full.
And so I'm in my apartment one day. I hear a knock on the door. And when I go to the peephole, it's real red. And I'm like, why I can't see out of it? Guess what that red
They
was?
finger, the officer's
It was a finger of a police officer blocking
Yep.
the hole. And then he say, Dallas police. And man, I almost went into cardiac arrest.
I know you did.
I looked around. Look at all this furniture.
Oh, the man's furniture still in your house.
I ain't got a chance to get rid of it.
Oh my God.
So I look, and I'm like, this thing I see a flash at the patio door. So I'm like, this is like there's no back door in
you
apartments.
busted. I'm busted.
So I can't hide the furniture. So I just like, man, make me invisible, make me invisible. But
Okay, so that's your first case. You get 5 years probation, and you move from Dallas to
I go back home.
to Texarkana.
Shame.
Let's talk about our next crime.
Okay.
Robbery.
Next time, robbery by threats.
Robbery by threats.
And basically, what you do is you don't actually rob somebody with a gun. You just tell them you have a gun, and you're very convincing. And
Now, was this somebody in a store, in their house? Where was it? If you remember. I know it was a long time ago.
a store. It was
In a
store.
parking lot?
I think it was a convenience store.
Okay. So
It
you
was a
rob a
convenience
convenience store, and you get caught. And how many years do you do?
I really didn't get caught.
Oh, you didn't get caught.
Interesting story. And this is what you never do, and this could make world's dumbest criminals. But I didn't get caught, but it made front page of the headlines in the paper. And I was sitting with a friend one day with the paper, and I said, read the story. And he read the story, and he said, you did this? I said, no, I just think it's an interesting story. He said, no, man, you did that, didn't you? You did that, didn't you, man? I said, no, I didn't do that. And I didn't find out till later that at the end of the story it said Crime Stoppers will pay up to $1,000 to any information leading to the arrest and conviction. And you know what my friend did?
What did he do?
He tried to collect $1,000.
But I thought you said you didn't do it. So how could he call and say it was you? You went ahead and told him you did it.
No, but think about this. Once he said I did it, and then they look at my picture, and they showed a picture to the
Where
people.
was the picture?
Because I already was on file. Remember, I'm already on file. I'm already in the system.
So
When he gave their name,
your friend took a guess that it was you. So the police went and got your picture,
and showed it to the clerk.
put it in a photo spread, showed it to the clerk, and the
Clerk
clerk
put,
said, "Picked you."
and so they still don't have any evidence, but they really don't need evidence, and you know that, Ms. King. I mean, because, you know, you can fight the system, but let me tell you, I was raised. Well, the reason I couldn't fight it is
You knew
because
you did it.
I wasn't gonna be able to get my family to support a lie.
Right.
It was time to take ownership and say, hey, I'm caught. And really, I was glad I was caught, because now the madness can end and I can get some rest, because there's nothing glorified about living life on drugs. Nothing glorified about it. And so it's like being rescued. And immediately when I got arrested, it seemed like I immediately transformed from how I was living to the person how I was raised. All those principles and morals kind of came back.
Okay, so but on that sentence you got 18 years, is that correct?
18 years.
And but then you do catch another case.
Well,
So you're
I'll
saying
go.
that all your morals came back. So how did you get another case again?
Well, because again, for me, I do well in failure. So while I'm in prison, I mean, think about it. This is not successful.
Right.
So when I'm in prison, I connect back to the values, the principles. I mean, I didn't start just like going to church and doing all these things, but I reconnected to the person that graduated from high school,
With honors.
the ambition, the guy that graduated with got out of the service with an honorable discharge.
Right, because when you're sober, you're that successful, smart, intelligent guy. But when you're high, then you're a smart thug trying to figure out a way to get some more drugs.
Well, I'll just say it like this here. I'll become this addict.
An addict.
Because a thug and an addict is not the same person.
What's the difference?
Well, the difference is addiction is a disease, and it's treatable. But if you're a thug, there's not a thug AA group or a thug NA group.
I got you.
So
Yeah,
there's a
that's good.
support system set up for people. There's help for a person that's addicted to drugs. And I champion Narcotics Anonymous for the 12-step program, the principles that and what it is the spiritual principles, what they do is they bridge you back for me, to my Christian principles.
Let me ask you this. Now, when you were doing your 18 years, it wasn't aggravated, so you got out in 2 years. Is that correct?
Right.
And when you got out, tell me, so you got released in 1991.
Right. So I go back home to Mama's house.
You go back home to Texarkana. So how, because I want to talk about those principles, but I want to get these crimes out the way
Okay.
first, and then we're going to get into the good
That's
stuff,
fine. Okay.
the recovery part. So tell me, you go back to Mama's house, and then what happens to get you back in the system again? You're on parole for the next 16 years.
What set me up to fail again when I got out is the expectations I had when I got out. I really thought they was going to have a ticker tape parade for me when I got out. Okay. I really expected the family would be like at the bus station saying, they let Danny out. And those expectations set me up to be disappointed. And when I got home, I remember my mother's gone. She's not here with me. But my mother allowed me to parole back to her house. I went in my mother's house a week, and she asked me to, Danny, cut that TV off. I'm trying to go to sleep. It's a 3-bedroom house. I'm waiting in the back. I said, Mama, I'm not cutting the TV off. I just left prison, and they told us we had to cut the TV off. You know, and I ain't...
Can you hold that thought, Danny? Let's take a call. Caller, you're on. Thank you for calling Truth and Justice.
Hello there, Miss Vivian King. How are you?
Hey, Tracy, what's going on?
I'm doing pretty good. You're looking lovely tonight.
Thank you, Tracy.
And
Thank you.
this is a very good, interesting show. I'm learning a whole lot tonight.
Okay.
And Mr. Danny, I so congratulate you for being successful after going through all those trials and tribulations.
Thank you.
And even Mr. Childress, I seen where they're gonna investigate the case through the federal Department of Justice. And I sure hope things go well for you there.
Yeah, thank you.
And I really appreciate this show here. It's one of the best ones you had there, Miss King.
All right. Well, thank you. I know Danny has a great testimony. Thank you for listening, and make sure you encourage other people to watch. And you know, in a couple of weeks, it'll be on YouTube. So encourage your friends to watch, especially people who are recently out of prison who need that encouragement to let them know that they can make it, because Danny has a good story. Thank you, Tracy, and I love you.
Okay, love you too.
All right. Tracy is my biggest fan, and he met me while watching this show. I never knew him before. He's someone that channel surfed, saw it, and he's always watched.
Oh, that's great.
And hopefully I have others to do the same. And we haven't forgotten you, Anthony, but we're going to finish your story right quick. Okay, so let's talk about, so you're telling your mama, I'm not in prison, I'm not going to turn the TV off or down.
And guess what my mother did?
Popped you upside your head?
She went straight to the phone.
What?
And she said, I'm going to call the police. Evidently, you didn't learn nothing in 2 years and tell them to come get you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I had a good mom.
I know that's right. I'd have popped you upside your head, though.
Yeah. No, she said, evidently, you didn't learn anything.
Okay.
You know, and I love you, Mama. So I,
Oh, that's
you
so
know,
sweet.
so I cut the TV off.
I know that's right.
And I laid there. I'm like, I can't believe this. Man, I stayed down there all that time, had to listen to them folks tell us you got to go to bed TV. I said, this just like being in prison. And that entitlement mentality that people owed me something, I really couldn't connect to how I affected people while I was gone. That selfishness and that self-centeredness didn't allow me to see how I had affected people's lives when I went to prison. I always just thought, I was there, you weren't there, how did that harm you? Even my brothers and sisters. My dad said, you were the hero. Who wants to see the hero in prison? I didn't understand that because I was a me person. And I didn't get that then, and I didn't get that till many, many years later.
Can we take another call?
Sure.
Thank you. Caller, you're on. Thanks for calling Truth and Justice and listening to Danny's story.
Hey, how you doing, Miss King?
I'm doing well, thank you.
All right. Danny, what's happening, my brother?
How you doing, sir?
Man, you know what, bro? That's a strong testimony, man. You know, I know you strong out there in the veteran community. You look out for your fellow vets, bro. And Miss King, I met you too.
Who are you?
I'm James King.
Hey, James King. Oh, you're the vet. Yeah, I know. I met you at the polls.
That's right.
Oh, I'm so glad that you had an opportunity to watch the show. I didn't know you would.
Hey, I had to take a chance and do this, and and it's amazing because, Danny do a lot of positive stuff out there in the community.
What a coincidence.
With our fellow veterans, right?
What a coincidence that you would watch the show and I met you down in the campaign trail. You had no idea I had Danny on tonight, did you?
No, ma'am.
Isn't it a powerful testimony?
A very powerful testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. In a couple of weeks, I'll have it up on YouTube. My YouTube channel is Vivian King, and you can tell all the other vets to watch it. We can get thousands and thousands of viewers that way. This station also repeats every show about 12 times. So thank you so much, James, for calling.
All right, you're welcome. Have a good one.
God bless you.
Thank you, James.
Okay, so let's get into this last case because we're about to start getting our calls. Now, your story was so good. Usually people are calling before now, but it's so good that they're letting you finish talking. So let's get to that end. Let's get to the end of the story. So how did you get caught up one more time in the another robbery?
I pretty much stuck with stuff. Remember I told you? Remember, it's like you just stick to your MO. And some people boost. Some people try to sell and use, but
some people sell their bodies.
Some people, whatever they do, it's their thing. And if you track their records, they have the same crime.
Because I represented 2 prostitutes today. The judge wanted me to appointed me, I think, in August or September to try to get them into the STAR program, where that's just for users, addicts. It's a federal program, and there's a lot of success with that program. But one rejected it, and the second one has such mental problems. Usually prostitutes have been raped a lot growing up. Physically, they've been sexually abused and physically abused. And so they have a lot of they don't have self-worth. So and a lot of them, like one of the ones I'm representing now is kind of retarded, really. She's kind of mentally deficient.
Okay.
So once you add mental deficiency to self-medicating because everyone you loved raped and beat you,
Okay.
then you get on cocaine, crack, ecstasy. She's used every drug there is.
Formula for disaster.
It's a formula for disaster. And what can a woman do if they've been screwed all their life? What are they going to do? Sell their body. So that's
Right.
her MO. But then you said that's interesting. And then the other young lady came down from another state and sold her body. She came to Dallas with a pimp, and then she ended up here. And all of them, back to back, just prostitution, 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 possession of controlled substance, prostitution. But the thing that's interesting is that it's their thing. When you see prostitutes who sell them bodies for cocaine, that's their thing. Even if they get on the wagon and get straight, if they go back 5 years later, it's what? Selling their bodies.
Right.
When you see robbers, they're always robbers to sell, for cocaine. Except when they get older. Now, if it's an aggravated robbery, what I've seen in my 20 years of doing criminal law is young people will tote guns and put them in people's faces. And usually it might not be drug-related, but they do get high to do it. But as they get to be about 30, then the crimes are slicker. Then they're not necessarily putting guns in people's faces anymore. I notice that
you get smarter. You get a little bit smarter.
And they're not as violent. Someone that they love has died, like a grandmother, or the person who maybe wrote them in prison every time they were there, and they really value life more when they get to be about 30. And they change their MO. And a lot of times they change, period.
My problem was I didn't understand the seriousness of robbery.
Well, we don't want to talk about the robbery in detail since we're running out of time. That was your MO, but just tell me how much time you were given on that robbery.
Just 20 years.
20 years. So you were on parole until when?
2015.
And like you said, you don't really keep up with that because you just know it's the lifestyle. Do you still have to report in person?
Sure. I have to report this on the 10th.
Okay. All right, we got a phone call. Let's take this call. Thank you for calling Truth and Justice and listening to Danny's story.
Hello?
Hello. Turn your volume down on your TV, please, and just talk into the telephone.
Oh, okay. Let me find the remote. I'm sorry.
Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. I have a nephew who's coming up for parole. And, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, first of all, I just want to say hello to you and also to Mr. Sneed. Tell him, drop that being his test is his testimony.
Yes, ma'am.
And, okay, my nephew, he's coming up for parole. He got, the charge was aggravated robbery with a deadly weapon.
Yes, ma'am.
So he got 6 years for that. And I think that was like his third, it was a felony. So this was like his third felony, which I was told he could have got more.
Well, he really got a good deal because with aggravated robbery on your first offense is 5 to 99 years, and the DA's plea bargain offer it usually starts at 15 years. So to get 6 years is actually remarkable.
It is. It's a blessing.
And I hope that he can do something productive when he gets out. And a lot of times with young people, they
also, I was want to ask, about him finding a job when he gets out.
Okay, we'll talk about that. One of the beautiful things that Danny Sneed does is he works with St. John's Downtown, our church, and he works with the Path to Freedom program, where he's an encourager and a Monday night facilitator, and they help them get jobs. And we're going to talk about that, so please watch the end of the show.
Okay.
God bless you.
Thank you.
I haven't let Anthony say anything. So Anthony, we've told a long story tonight. And what as a young man, how old are you?
No, I'm 39.
You're 39. You just look like you're 25. But anyway, what do you think about Danny's story? What comments do you have? Just from another young man.
Well, I mean, being a man myself who's been a victim of, the TDCJ system, I'm glad that he could actually come home and change his life, because that was the hardest thing for me to do, was to actually be able to come home and change and to do something different. Because, like he said, it's for most black men, it's hard to get a job. And even though I graduated, went to Microcomputer Technology Institute and everything, like jobs at McDonald's and stuff like that, they said I was overqualified for. And then the jobs that I was qualified for, I wasn't the right color. So, I understand.
You think you weren't the right color, or they just didn't want to hire somebody that had a criminal background?
No, I didn't have a criminal background at the time.
Oh, okay.
So it was the
It's hard for everybody to find a
man.
job. That's for
Well,
sure.
actually, the students that I was with, well, at the time when I was in school, my best friends was girls. So Laura Tovar and Christian, they both went with me to the mall to look for jobs and stuff like this. And all the places where I got turned down and told that they wasn't hiring, even though they had the no hiring sign, the managers interviewed them.
Did they get hired?
Well, at Just Jeans and this other place, they got hired in Journeys. And I didn't get a job. Actually, I didn't get a job till I was like 21.
And how'd that make you feel?
I mean, it's discouraging. It didn't make me feel like, I didn't get hateful towards nobody or nothing like that. It's just, I just felt like the, workforce wasn't for, most black men because they just make it so hard for us to get in. So I started finding, I've always had the talent of drawing, so I just found the thing that I liked the most that I was already doing anyway, and just stuck with that. Now I
And
have
that's
my
when you
own
became
shop.
a tattoo artist, and now
Yes.
you've graduated this year into being your own businessman, and now you have your own tattoo studio. So I'm proud of you for making your own way. You did it in other people's offices, and now you have your own
Yes.
on MLK. So I'm really proud of you for doing that. But
Thank
also, I
you.
want you to diversify. So you've got to figure out other things to do because there's only so many tattoos people can get on their bodies.
Oh, yeah, I'm a community activist, and not only that, it's always been my dream to draw buildings because I like buildings and stuff. So I'm going back to school for architect too, and then
Or
also I
maybe
was.
drafting. It's possible that you could get a drafting job, but if you get too many tattoos on your face, that a company is not going to want to hire you, and you tatting up your face now. So, but I guess you could go on an interview and put some makeup on it and color it up or something. You can do the Michael
Nah,
Jackson. But and maybe and there are private architects that you could draw for and draft. And I remember when I bought a house in Third Ward, I actually got a guy who didn't work for a company to actually draft the plans. I created like how I wanted to renovate this house, and he drafted the plans for me because you have to have plans with the city of Houston to get permits. Let me see if we have a caller. We had one on the line. They might have hung up. Okay, they hung up. Sorry about that, caller. You can call back if you like. All right, so let's get back to thank you for your input, Anthony, and I
You're
appreciate you
welcome.
sitting here. Talk to me. We have 10 minutes, so this hour goes fast, and there's no commercials. Isn't this amazing?
Well, I did want to point out, because I'm still on parole, that give some statistics on the Texas prison system. As of today, Texas has now become the nation's largest prison system. California did hold that title for some time, but now we have 152,000 people incarcerated. But the thing about it is, the way they're approaching, what they are doing is they're paroling more people, and they're revoking less people. So that's one of the upsides. And even though we're the largest prison population, we have went from having 156,000 people locked up a year ago to only having 152,000 locked up now.
Now, the article, did you read it? Did it tell you why? Because I would think that California, we've passed California now because they legalized marijuana. So a lot of people, so we went from 156,000 to 152,000. So apparently they had more than 156 when we were there. So I would think the legalization of the last few years of marijuana has stopped a lot of their possession cases.
No, what is it, the actual thing that happened, they passed a law that they would no longer lock up nonviolent offenders in state prisons.
Okay,
So what they did is they can only hold people with nonviolent in jails.
I see.
So they're
So they
not
took them out of the prison population, period.
right. So they reduced the numbers.
And that's what we did at first in 1994 with the state jail system. That was supposed to be for
Right.
nonviolent offenders, so that we would stop people with crack pipes from doing habitual time, 25 to life in prison, if they just had, under a gram, or it was a forgery or something that was nonviolent. They were supposed to be to state jail, but because we don't keep up with our legislature, they kept making it tougher and tougher and tougher. And one of the things, as a Houston community, we need to be mindful of the fact that we had less arrests and our system was less clogged up over the last 4 years with Pat Lycos because she stopped taking the crack pipe cases. Now, Mike Anderson says that he is going to now start accepting charges on crack pipe cases when we know crack pipes are just trash, like a Coke can with nothing in it but residue. crackheads and addicts are keeping these pipes in case they get another rock, a usable quantity.
Correct.
Understand in Texas law, marijuana you can only go to jail for if it's a usable quantity. So if you have the remnants of marijuana, some seeds and stems, it's no crime. It has to be enough to smoke. But crack laws are not the same. Crack laws start at state jail, and residue, so if they can just put a little Q-tip with a little solution on it and it turns blue and it says the residue is there, you can have a case, although it cannot be weighed and there's no usable quantity. You can still go to prison and occupy a $50,000 a year bed for what's basically trash and paraphernalia that you're keeping until you get some more. It was a good policy, I believe, as a citizen. It's not a good policy as a criminal lawyer because, you know, the more crime, the more money I can make. So I'm just saying this as a, not as a lawyer, but I'm saying it as a citizen. It's bad policy because as a citizen, I want violent people locked up. I want the opportunity to walk down the street late at night and be safe. I'm not worried about no crack pipe. Because the crack pipes are usually on the homeless people that are begging on the streets, on the corners. Anyway, the homeless people in my neighborhood are all on crack. And I'm sure if you stop them at any time, they have a crack pipe in their pocket. So anytime the police need to run some people in, they could run them in. But they had to stop doing that. So when we need to say we're getting tough on crime. Our hour is going fast. We have 7 minutes. So I'm going to let both of my guests kind of wind down and say what they want to say. Anthony wants to share some news with you. And I'll let you do that first so that we can then go to Brother Danny Sneed and he can wrap up his story. But Anthony has some good news today. So tell us what happened in the news.
Well, the good news for me today is because, you know, like I was beat down October 2nd by the police department.
October 2nd of what year?
2011. And on February the 23rd of 2012, they dismissed the charges against the police officers and then had my first attorney arrested and disbarred, and then you took my case. And that's a major blessing, I thank God. And then today, I woke up and I received a call from Sister Crystal and, you know, some other people that my face was in the paper, and I wanted to know why, because I was really nervous at first. I was like, why my face in the paper again? I ain't did nothing. But the police chief is doing his job, and I thank God for him, because, you know, we've had other police chiefs that I really felt like they wasn't doing their job. But Police Chief McClellan has actually got, you know, the FBI to come down and check our cases out. You know, look at me and the brother Chad Holly, who was stomped by, you know, 8 to 10 police officers. Myself, I got beat up by 6 police officers. Only 4 of them I know who they are. And, you know, it's other people, the same things are happening. You know, we actually went to go check on the guy at the hospital today. You know, they got shot in the back of the head. And, you know, we wasn't able to see him, but we were able to make contact. So we had a good, you know, number of instances happens today.
Okay, well, I'm going to take a call, and then I'm going to let my next guest close up. But I do want to show you the police, the headlines for the Chronicle today, December 5th, 2012, and it says the feds examined 6 HPD cases. So if you Google Houston Chronicle or chron.com, it's telling you that the shootings, allegations of excessive force are being investigated by the FBI, and they have the pictures of 5 of the people in there, and one of them is Anthony Childress. Caller, you're on. Thank you for calling Truth and Justice with Vivian King.
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you, but I'm echoing because you still have your volume up. If you can just talk into the receiver, we'll hear you very quickly. And we have 5 minutes, so please ask your question, ma'am.
Okay, hello. I just turned on the TV and sort of tuned into the show. I've never seen the show before, and please forgive me. I am a little bit nervous about calling.
Okay, what's the question, ma'am?
But anyways, I was wanting to ask Ms. King, just recently, I had some trouble to come into my life. It stems from back in 2008. I was told that I was arrested for deception of fraud by a document, and it's due to Medicaid and food stamp fraud, under $4,000. I'm due to get ready to go to an arraignment on the 10th back in another county, so I was just basically wanting to ask her about that. I've never been in any trouble in my life, So I'm needing to know a little bit about how I need to go about, with this case.
What county is it in?
It's out of Edgar County.
Okay. I would Google lawyers, criminal lawyers in that county, and I would just put in criminal lawyers in whatever county that is and Google and research different lawyers to find. And you need one in that county so you won't have to pay a lawyer from Houston to travel there, because that would be an added expense. And read up on the law on that and talk to the lawyer that you feel the most comfortable with and send them a check and go from there. And good luck and God bless you on that. And we have this show every Wednesday from 6:30 to 7:30 where we teach about the criminal justice system through people's crime stories. And please continue to watch and watch the reruns. And on YouTube, my channel is Vivian R. King. No spaces, no dots, and you can see reruns of old shows there. Thank you for calling. Okay, Danny, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. Again, I want to thank you for having me on your show, and I look forward to returning again.
Absolutely.
I want to first give a shout out to my church family. It's St. John's downtown. The Honorable Pastor Rudolph Raymond and his wife, Juanita. Also at St. John's, I work with Path of Freedom, and it's a prison outreach ministry. And what we do is we try to change the prison cycle. Every Monday night from 5:30 to 7, we meet people coming right out of TDC and state jails. Many come right from the bus station. In the out processing packets, there's a St. John's Path of Freedom information link that sends them there. What we do is provide free cell phones so people just getting out of prison. Gives you 250 free minutes a month. This allows a person getting out, if he applies for a job, they can call him. And been very actively involved in that now for about 2 years. One of the things I want to also encourage is that anybody that's out there that's still on parole or has any trouble, it is a lie that once you're on parole, if you've been in trouble, that you won't be given another opportunity. My story is one of many of people that have got out of prison and got right back out and got their lives together. I wish I had more time, but I know many people, Ms. King, that have gotten out of prison and have went back and been very successful. And one of the things I contribute to my success is it's the people. My new life is new people. And I wanted greatness, and I figured out if you want to be successful, you want to be great, you didn't have to really be great or successful. Just surround yourself with a lot of successful, great people. And for some reason, through their peer pressure, you start taking on some of those characteristics. The same people that convinced me to smoke weed and to cuss and to drink, it's the same process, even as an adult. So the grown people in my life that I'm around, I like the things that the way they're living their life, the success they have, and it encourages me. One other thing, I also have a blog. It's called My Strength Group, The Encouragers. It's on Facebook, and I welcome anybody to hit me up on Facebook. That's Danny Sneed Jr. here in Houston, Texas. I'd like to add you to that blog page.
Okay, now I'm getting my directors telling me to wrap it up, wrap it up. So thank you so much for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. I hope that Danny Sneed Jr.'s story has enlightened you, has informed you about the criminal justice system, has encouraged you to change your life. I hope people watching it will catch the reruns, catch it on YouTube. Like I said, I'll have it on YouTube in about 2 weeks. Danny will be back. He will bring some of the people that he's helped in his program, Path to Freedom, to tell their stories and how they were successful. We have so many stories where people can't get jobs. They don't get with the right support groups. Danny is working every Monday night after he gets off his job, volunteering with his church support group to make sure that people right off of prison, that bus station, Greyhound, is right across the street from St. John's downtown, and he's there to receive you, to love you, to give you an alternative and a new family to be there. As a criminal lawyer, I decided I'd walk the walk and talk the talk, and I left the church that I'd been at 30 years so that I could be with the broken people, because although my story's not his, I'm also broken. And so I need to be where people are that are encouraging, that accept you for who you are, and that love you. So good night.